Thank you, sisters, for those calming words. I know that my Savior lives. You know, I was doing fine until I looked out here and saw so many people that John's life has touched. I know he would say, thank you all for coming. And I was touched by the words that Bishop spoke, and I will try to say a few words of comfort as well. My thoughts are going to be kind of random. I've talked with a few people and recorded some things that they said. Some will repeat what Bishop said. Some may not. I guess first, at a time like this, I repeat this over and over. It seems like every service like this. But I reflect on the words that the Savior told Joseph Smith as recorded in the Doctrine and Covenants, where he says, "Thou shalt live together in love, insomuch that thou shalt weep for the loss of them that die, and more especially for those that have not hope for a glorious resurrection." But then he goes on, "And it shall come to pass that those that die in me shall not taste of death, for it shall be sweet unto them." Cancer is a cruel and awful disease that seems to rob one of their dignity. We know this is a sweet time for John. I don't think he ever lost his dignity. As Bishop said, he was positive and laughed up to the end. How grateful we are for his wonderful spirit, his wonderful attitude. This is some notes from a daughter. He was a wonderful daddy. He had a playful spirit. She remembers, meals that they would, or breakfast that they would fix for him before he get out of bed on Saturday morning. And I'm not going to describe them as she described them, but they might not have been that appetizing. And we look forward to those Saturday morning pillow fights with Dad. And as a dad, he would always say how proud he was of his children. And he never, ever quit doing that. This is a quick note from one of his co-workers. This was when he was worked at the federal courthouse. Said he was a pleasure to work with. I guess it's always a pleasure to work with someone of your same faith that you can share so many things together. But we all know that John was a talker. The judges knew that John was a talker. The fact that he said that the judges would hide when they would see him. It was simply because they didn't have the time to stop and talk, though. One day, a judge saw him coming and ducked back in his office and hid. And John said, "Well, I thought I saw the judge go in his office." So he opens up the office door and looks in there, and he didn't see him, and he looked under his desk, and there he was. He said, "Did you lose something? Can I help you find it?" There's got to be a lot of truth in that. From another brother, He was always Johnny on the spot, and we've already heard that. He was loyal to friends and family. Was a talker. I guess anybody that would come up and say something would talk about him being a talker. Courage and dignity until the last. And positive attitude, we might add to that. Now, this hasn't been mentioned yet, but John was frugal. Is that correct, Marilyn? Well, this particular story had to deal with the church here when he served in the bishopric, that he didn't think the lights ought to be left on. So he was constantly going around turning off the lights. And the kids got to where they played a game with him. They'd find him somewhere else in the building, and they'd go turn the lights on somewhere else. So he'd turn them off. But he was very respectful of church property, and he thought other people are to be respectful of church property as well. And I guess that, I don't know if that was a sore spot, but he was always concerned about showing proper respect for the chapel and the church and the building itself. Now, we know that, like we said, John was always a talker and never shy on words. Don't know how else to put it. John was a Yankee. And he let us know it. But he was way outnumbered. But he always had a comeback. And he was one of those that was, I guess, easy to tease or easy to kid with. So there was a lot of good back and forth with that. John was always willing to go and do, as Bishop said. If we would pick a Book of Mormon character that would characterize John Neely, it would be Nephi. Remember Nephi's words, I will go and do. For the Lord gives no commandment, but he will provide a way for it to be done. He was always willing. If I were to ask you, brethren, to raise your hand, how many of you ever called him to ask you to go and give a priesthood blessing? Oh, what a number. What a number that would be. And the bishop said, I'll be ready in 10 minutes. And I'd always say, oh, John, you don't have to hurry that much. I'll be there in 15. Always, day or night, it didn't matter what time, he was always willing to go. He was always prepared on his assignments. When he was a member of the High Council, he was always prepared when he would be asked to give a spiritual thought. Always came prepared and written down. I can tell by those from other wards and branches around the state that how much he loved him. You know, we always begin his talks with a joke. Now, if I were to ask you, how many of you remember the joke about Acts 2:33, 2:38? Every one of them heard that once, right? If I remember right, he would usually start something, then someone would have to come back and back him into a corner. Then he would really get running and talking. And now John didn't stutter, but he would kind of, I don't know how you would say it in his speaking, but he would kind of hesitate in his talk some when he really got to running and going. One thing John often reminded me of, and this was mentioned about his father-in-law, was a blessing that we gave his father-in-law before he went for his heart surgery and then later passed on. And there were some words in that blessing that John would never let me forget. And I know he remembers them. And I would say those same words for him without repeating them to you. I think of what the Savior would say to John. To do that, I look at the Savior taught in parables. This is a parable that reminds me of John. It's in 25th chapter of Matthew. I think most of you or all of you know this parable of talents. sum of money. But I think if we looked at this literally and thought of talents as talents, talents that we have or talents that John had, and then kind of put that into context. And we know that the master left and trusted these talents to his servants and then came back and asked for an accounting of those. Because after a long time, the Lord of those servants cometh and reckoned with them. And so he that had received 5 talents came and brought other 5 talents, saying, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 5 talents. Behold, I have gained besides them 5 talents more. And his Lord said unto him, and these are the words that I think the Savior would say to John. Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee